And as we say always on this podcast, we're really just kidding about Utah. It's not that great. Colorado's much better. Go there. Lots of great stuff in the Rockies, like you said. We're getting too busy right here. Okay, so tell us about your story as far as becoming interested in health and in particular interested in nutrition. When did you know that's something you wanted to do, and what was your schooling like to be able to do that?
Great question. That was tied. So it was literally tied to my like personal experience with my gut health. When I went to college, I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. Like most people, a lot of people, I mean, don't know exactly what we want to do. And I just sort of like these were the days when we had the catalog, like the physical catalog. The courses weren't online, right? Yeah, totally, completely. So I had the physical catalog, and I like was like going through the pages, and I saw a nutrition class, and I was like, well, that sounds really interesting. Let me take a nutrition course. So I took a nutrition course, and literally that semester, my gut health turned from I had IBS or was diagnosed with IBS, right? Which we know is a cluster of symptoms. If you fall into these categories, you get put into this diagnosis of IBS. And it had been like okay, right? Like it wasn't great. My gut function wasn't great, bloating, some constipation, but it wasn't like totally derailing my quality of life. It hadn't taken over. But that semester, as I was taking my first nutrition course, it declined. My gut health and gut function declined significantly. So much that I actually lost 40 pounds through that semester, which was crazy. And I was definitely
Wow.
having some malabsorption. Yeah, I was definitely malabsorbing nutrients. The constipation became really severe. The bloating became really severe. I had a stomach pain with almost everything I ate. So it was like impossible to figure out like what was the problem, because it was like every time I ate, it just my stomach hurt. So this progressed as I was, in my first nutrition course. And I think that helped me. I mean, maybe I would have always loved nutrition, but now here I am like, okay, I have to be a detective. Like I have to figure this out. Here I'm taking these courses. I'm going to keep taking these courses and learn more about nutrition and learn what I can do, because the medications I was given, like the symptom management things, weren't really touching my symptoms, and my health was worsening. And with that, I think you might have mentioned you had gut issues the last time we were on the podcast as well. When your gut function really declines, and of course it affects your immune system, but like your sleep quality. And if your stomach's always bothering you, you're on edge. You have like this nerve, this like just nervy edginess, because it's like always like gnawing at you, a burning sensation. So my quality of life in general was taking such a hit, and it really fueled my passion to figure this out and learn as much as I could. And so I love that first, nutrition 101 foundational course I took, and kept going. And I'm going to stop there so you can remind me. I know this was like a multi-part question, but that's how I first like got into nutrition and took my first class. And basically I was on a mission to figure out what was going on with my gut health and how I could fix it.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. To be fair, if I did mention that I had gut issues, they would be very minor. I never dealt with anything that was like I was never diagnosed with anything. I've never taken medications for that. So if I did say that, it was very, very minor. But I've talked to
Yeah.
enough people on our show that have dealt with them, and it sounds absolutely miserable. Like people like planning out your entire day around where the bathroom is, carrying toilet paper with you, like all that stuff is crazy. But going back to your story, when you said you lost 40 pounds, I only know the version of you that I know now that was already like incredibly lean as far as what you look like. Were you overweight at the time, or did you not have the 40 pounds to lose?
Didn't have the 40 pounds to lose.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
Yeah, I was between 155 and 160, and I got down to 118 was my lowest that I saw on the scale, and it scared me to death.
Yeah, that would be pretty
So,
miserable. Yeah. As you were taking these first classes and kind of learning about nutrition, what was your own personal nutrition like back then?
so it was regular, I guess you would say. My mother was a nurse, and she always tried to eat, get us to eat healthy and a balanced diet. So we always had our meat and our protein, and there was a starch and there was a vegetable. So it was kind of an average, like American balanced diet at the time. And then of
Gotcha.
course it changed after that. But actually I should give you context. I definitely was higher carb, because that semester I was on the crew team. So I wanted to be a part of a team. I've always been athletic and always wanted to be involved in sports. So I decided they were recruiting. So I tried out, made the team. So I was definitely higher carb, like granola bars, just because that was what I knew. And yeah, what I knew at the time, what I had available. So that could have, the higher carb, higher sugar, I think was probably fueling my gut issues. I think it was part of the speedometer, and then the, like, why all of a sudden it accelerated. And also the, the exercise. If you're doing weight training, intense short burst exercise, you're also elevating your glucose. That could have had, and of course I was eating a lot of carbohydrates, but it could have been those two things, and the stress of exercise. So
Yeah, I've
I think it
done,
was multifactorial.
yeah, I've done competitive cycling and played ice hockey in college and that kind of thing. And from what I've heard, that does not touch the kind of intensity that people that do crew I get to all the time. I've heard that is really, really, really intense, quite difficult. So, yeah, I think all of those would play factors for sure. And was there anything that you were learning in your classes that whether they were correct or incorrect, was there anything that you were told that would help with gut issues, make things a little bit better? Anything along those lines?
Main things I picked out at the time were reducing or eliminating gluten, and then I took it a next step further to all grains and dairy, processed dairy. So those were the couple things that I was able to like gauge out of my courses.
Gotcha. So that was actually taught to you that would actually help with gut issues?
No, that's a good question. Whether it was directly taught to me or I read it on my own, I can't like recall at this moment in time. But I had the I think the education or the interest to either pick it out, put two and two together. But I could have read something externally as well.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question. Is it's
Mhm.
so often and frequent that you hear somebody goes through a program, and even a really good program, and they never learn that kind of thing, or they never put the connection together that your gut issues can be caused by the food that you're eating, which once you're on the other side, of course, that makes perfect sense. But I'm stunned to see how many people take courses like that and never get taught the food impacts like directly where the food is going. Like you would think that would be taught a little bit more. So yeah, that's kind of why I
Right.
asked. Yeah.
Right. No, totally. I mean, I definitely learned about gluten intolerances, but the dairy part I'm probably picked that up on my own because I can't remember a course specifically that went into that because most of the courses, you know, said to have three recommended, like we learned that the recommendation to have 3 servings of low fat dairy a day and that sort of thing. So the gluten, yes, the dairy, probably not.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. They would have either been very progressive or, getting to know you from our last interview. I know how scientifically minded you are and how deep you like to go to find interesting answers to questions. So either way, yeah, I appreciate that. Can you tell us a little about your experience with the medications? You told us that the medications were there for the symptoms. Did they seem to help? How many different medications did you take, and did you experience side effects?
No side effects. Just I remember Miralax, and there was a couple others like for shorter periods of time, but Miralax is the only one that I recommend. I mean, I remember having to take, and no, it didn't help at all. So the main issue was the severe constipation, severe bloating, abdominal pain. Um, the main medication was that, and it didn't help it at all. So I kind of moved on for that, and then used like over the counter things as needed, right, to help things move along because my gut just wasn't functioning.
Got it. But it was slightly better from avoiding the gluten and the dairy.
Yes. So once I took the gluten and dairy out, and then further took out grains after that, I regained the weight. Like things, the abdominal pain, like the pain with eating, became much much better. Right, that burning sensation, the pressure. So that made a huge difference, and I was able to regain weight, kind of get a lot of my quality of life back over the next several years.
Gotcha. Okay, great. And then registered dietitian is typically 6 years in college. Is that correct?
So before we jump to that, actually, I just want to I was just thinking of something else related to. There was a couple things I wanted to say related to um, the the gut history. One, which we can circle back to if you want to. One was why I think this like severe gut dysbiosis, my microbiome dysbiosis happened because I that's what happened, right? Like my gut microbiome was just totally out of balance, and the functioning really deteriorated. So I just want to make sure we circle back to that. And then I lost the other
Let's do
thing
for
that
sure.
that I was thinking of. Oh, there's sort of like a part two to this story too. So that got me to a level of quality of life, but it wasn't till I took out all carbs and sugar completely that I was able to fully like get back to normal bowel function, normal gut function, totally normal health.
Gotcha. Okay. Where is that in the time frame? That wasn't while you were still in school, right? You were already practicing as a dietitian at the time?
So it was actually while I was practicing as a dietitian. I had just finished the internship, just got my first job. Um, Back then, the bachelor's degree, and then I do my master's degree, but it was separated. Now it's together,
Right.
so we can circle back to the education piece. But I did finish my internship, and things had started to. I was working as a dietitian, and things had started to like get a little bit worse. And I knew that there had to be like another level to this, and I was able to figure out that a lot of it was due to antibiotics that I had when I was younger. So I had a ton of antibiotics within the first 18 months of life. I had 13 rounds of antibiotics.
Wow.
And our gut microbiome, it actually takes 3 years. Did you know this? It takes 3 years for a gut microbiome to build in an infant. We're born with a sterile gut. No bacterial microorganisms in there.
I had never
So,
considered that, but it makes perfect sense.
right. And so I learned this like along the way, and I thought, wow, like it takes 3 years. You're building up your gut, right? You're literally building up your microbiome. If you're insulting it with antibiotics one after the other, can it really like establish the population that it's supposed to establish? So I had all those antibiotics, and then of course that definitely affected my immune system. I got sick a ton as a kid, so like strep throat, sinus infections, ended up getting Lyme disease a couple of times, and so more antibiotics, more antibiotics, more antibiotics. So I think the amount of antibiotics through infancy, through childhood, through adolescence is what sort of led, besides those other factors I was mentioning, led to this severe gut dysbiosis, right, that imbalance, and then malabsorption. And so that's when that next level of basically a ketogenic diet, even though I didn't realize that's what I was doing at the time, taking out all carbohydrates, all sugars, fruits, right, everything, really helped my gut to fully heal and get to that next level of okay, like this is how everything should be.